Yeah, so what I often get asked now that we've been through the bell curve, the risk curve, the four reasons why we've ended up in this scenario, and how this is, I guess, creating, let's say, emotions that are unhelpful in the people involved in the leadership and running of those businesses. Most obvious question that I get hit with will, like, what do you suggest we do? What do you prescribe as a next step? It's a great question, and it's not something that I move directly into as soon as I meet somebody, because there's quite a lot to cover here. So I've got my checklist here. I'm not going to write everything up on the whiteboard, but I do want to give you the lay of the land and walk you through a concept that I've called pipeline science. Just before we do that, I want to explain what pipeline science is, and the way I'm going to do that is by using an analogy. So if you think about having a prism in your hand, now think about the sunlight, white light coming in and hitting the prism, and it then splits out into different colours, effectively different wavelengths of light. This is really great. You've got your red, your blue, your green, your yellow, etc. I want you to think about now that prism and the light being split as all of the various components and elements within your business. So that could be sales, it could be marketing, it could be financial control, it could be the operations, the engineering of the thing that you do or make. And all of those things are very critical inputs, components, elements, whatever you want to call them, that have to be considered for the ongoing health, the ongoing growth. Because let's be honest, we're all after growth, the ongoing growth and expansion of that business. Now, it can often become very confusing. So, for example, if you're in sales, as you go split through that, as the light split through the prism, you could be the red, but marketing could be the blue, finance could be the green, HR operations could be any of the other colours through that spectrum and those different wavelengths. What we want to do is we want to create, and this is my philosophy, we want to create a way that we can give out very clear messaging, very clear instructions as to how all of those critical elements can be brought together. So what we effectively want to do is we want to reverse engineer the work that the prism does. So we go around the other side, we collect in all those different wavelengths, spectrums, and we bring them back in. And we do that using what I call pipeline science. So that's a blend of sales, marketing, engineering, and good financial practice and control. Now, one of the benefits of pipeline science is that you know exactly what you need to do next. And this is one of the frequent questions that I always get asked. What should we do next? There's so many things that we can do. What should we do next? Pipeline science addresses that. So let's jump into it. So pipeline science, we've just talked about that as a concept. So we've got this up at the master level, if you like, and then pipeline science that we then move down through this in a layered approach. So on the left side, you've got what I call pipeline construction. And on the right side, we've got pipeline management. Just put a dotted line down through the two. So pipeline construction is where we start. So we got to start with actually engineering a pipeline. So if I just work through my checklist here so we can get everything out. Engineering the pipeline is effectively us creating a sales pipeline in your business. One probably does exist, most likely either up here or on some sort of CRM, spreadsheet, some sort of electronic document. In my experience, that information is critical to ascertain the baseline of a pipeline is usually scattered amongst several people and several different digital tools. Yeah. So this is effectively an antidote for a CRM is really the way I like to think of it. So we create a pipeline, and by the way, if you have nothing in your pipeline, it's absolutely fine. We can work with anything. Yeah. The next thing we want to do is we want to back test what has previously been through your pipeline historically. So contrary to popular belief, when you hear the saying, what got you here won't get you there, well, when it comes to constructing and engineering a pipeline, it's exactly where we need to start. So what got us here may not get us to the next level up. If you're at a £2 million business, it might not get us to 5, but it'll certainly get us to 2.2, 2.3, 2.4. It'll give us the clarity to get going and put the traction in. So we've got engineering, which we've talked about. And one last thing in the engineering, once we've done the back testing, what we're going to do is we're going to learn lessons from what went not so well. So what were the failures and things that flopped or didn't work? But we're also going to learn from what did work. So what was like an astounding success for us that for whatever reason we've stopped doing? Because we want to lean into that and effectively repeat sell that. Now, that's cool. We've done the engineering bit of the pipeline. We've mapped it out. We've drawn it out. We've actually created some sort of visual on a whiteboard or in a digital document. Now, I want to talk to you about another concept that's really important in pipeline construction, and that's the actual gearing. How do we gear a pipeline? Now, you're probably, and I hope you are, thinking, what the hell is pipeline gearing? So I'm going to take you through it again using an analogy. I want you to think back to when you were a little kid, or you've seen your own kids learning to ride their bike. I've just taught my son how to ride his bike last week, actually. And here's the analogy. The bike had no gear. It had one gear on it, one fixed gear. Now, what happens if you're going downhill on a one fixed gear bike as a child? No issue, no problem. You're loving life and everything's going well. As soon as the incline changes and you have to go uphill, it starts to get really, really hard, to the point where if you can't change the gear, you have to stop. So this is exactly the same when it comes to managing the flow of opportunities, leads through your sales pipeline. You have to gear it properly. So this is where the importance of a well-crafted offer comes in, and actually clarity on the types of customers that you serve. And to make this really simple, I'm going to use two polar opposites. So I'm going to use an example in my business. So I have two types of clients. I have consultancy clients, I have coaching clients. Consultancy clients, they bring in significantly more revenue per deal or per offer than my coaching clients do. But here's the thing, the consultancy clients take much, much longer for me to develop from a lead to an opportunity to close business. On average, because I've measured it, it takes about 6 months. A coaching client, on the other hand, much lower revenue, comes in much quicker, takes me about 1 month. So what's really important here in the concept of gearing is we want to make sure that the ratio of types of clients and types of offers that we're selling and putting through our pipeline is well mixed. Because if it's not, what happens is we're going to have periods in business where revenue goes up massively, but because it's not geared properly, it's then going to fall off a cliff. And this causes this feast and famine effect, okay? And another analogy, somebody said it to me years ago and it just like clicked in my head. For every whale client that you want to have about 6 or 7 dolphin clients. That was the analogy, and that stuck with me in my head. So let's move. So we've done pipeline construction. Let's do pipeline management now. So pipeline velocity, the speed at which things move through your sales pipeline, really, really important factor to consider. And then the other piece over here is accountability coaching. And this doesn't have to be an external coach. This could be somebody internal within the business. It could be a head of sales, it could be a sales director, it could be head of marketing, a chief operating officer, whatever it might be. So the velocity effectively is, as I've said, how quick opportunities move through our pipeline and convert to paid business. Now, if we're starting this entire journey from scratch, we don't know what the velocity is, which is actually fine, because in the early days, all we're doing is measuring what we've done before, and that's where the back testing comes in when we talked about the engineering over here. So this is just a measurement, And once we get moving and we get a feel for that, then what we want to do is we want to track on an ongoing basis the metrics, and we want to track lead measures and lag measures, i.e., to keep our pipeline at the correct velocity, we know that we need to be making, for example, 10 new phone calls a week. That's a lead measure. The lag measure might be, as long as we make 10 new phone calls a week, for every 3 months that pass, we know we'll have 2 new clients booked. Accountability coaching. This is, in my opinion, a huge leverage point in this whole ecosystem, if you like, of pipeline science. This is where getting your mindset right, unlocking some of the aspects around limiting beliefs, recalibrating your belief around sales, your belief around marketing, your belief around money. It's really important. So there's a big lever here. And that accountability coaching, if you miss this piece out in the pipeline science, you've got a really well constructed intellectual model, but you've got no way of actually bridging then over to the subconscious emotional drivers that you want your employees or anybody who's responsible for sales to get embedded into their heads. So what I'm trying to say really is you can get going without this, but none of this will be sustainable without it. And that's really pipeline science in a nutshell, and that will set us up nicely in the next video, where we want to talk about the 2 types of archetypes, the engineering archetype and effectively the business sales archetype.